Umar Johnson, Jermaine Shoemake, is a complete and utter scam artist. I did a video on Umar Johnson recently, and whenever you do a video on Umar Johnson, you know you're going to get the wackadoodles. So the wackadoodles came at me, and I'm trying not to because I'm going to save it for Dusty Comments. I promise you. Dusty Comments, man. Umar Johnson came to Atlanta recently. Shout out to Harly Initiated Podcast. Those guys over there have a great podcast. They have fantastic production. Shout out to those young brothers over there. And there's no shade on them. Umar Johnson, however, is a complete and utter sham. He's a scam artist, man. He is a scam artist. I don't care what anybody says. Today, we're going to listen to what he has to say about the black church. And it's pretty dumb. I just have to say, man, I was gobslapped at just how dumb this was. Some of the defenders on my other videos about Umar Johnson this week have said that, hey, you can speak. You don't have to be a Christian to speak about the church. And though I understand what they're trying to say, because they're looking at the church just like you would look at Kroger or Magic Johnson Theater or Yetis or Adidas, like a company. In that regard, sure, you could critique a company or a movie theater or a brand. Sure, absolutely. The problem is you have to understand what the brand is supposed to do. Now, for example, if you were critiquing a car, it would at least behoove you to understand the inner workings and at least have a operational understanding of what a car should do. Okay, because you can't say, hey, Mercedes-Benz put out this brand new car. It's $130,000 MSRP, but it doesn't cut onions. It does not fly backwards. Well, see, that would be stupid because that means clearly you don't understand what a car is supposed to do. You don't understand the usage of a car. So you do need to have some kind of understanding of a car in order to critique it. Now, you don't have to be a NASCAR driver and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to be able to critique a car. I think everybody has an opinion about what they enjoy, what they like as it relates to automobiles. Same thing with shoes or sandwiches or baseball caps. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be an expert in that field in order to have an operational understanding. However, the church of Jesus Christ is slightly different because the church is run by Christ and it's not run like a business. It's not run like a brand. So you can't use worldly, earthly senses in order to critique the success, if you will, or the veracity, if you will, of a church because the church is led, flourishing under Christ. So therefore, you need to be a Christian to understand what a church is and your role in the church before you critique the church. I critique my church all the time, but I understand, one, I can only critique so far. I can't badmouth my church or the universal body of Christ because I recognize it's the body of Christ. And this is how he has saw fit to run it. On the same note, however, I can compare what a church is supposed to be doing against one that isn't doing what it's supposed to do. That's perfectly fine and within our pale of understanding as Christians. So when we look at here, Umar Johnson, let's just bring him in and I'll show you what I'm talking about.
The black woman. And the reason the black church caters to the black woman is because the black woman is the provider. She has more income and education than the man. So they're looking at this financially. They also have a vested interest in her never getting married. The pastor is the metaphorical husband of all the single women in the community. I'm not saying he's sleeping with them. I'm saying he's keeping them so distracted with Jesus that they never find a husband, and that's the way he wants it to stay. Because if she finds a husband, she won't have as much time to be donating to the church home. Wow. So the black church benefits from single motherhood. They don't want our sisters married because their pockets would go down.
Shout out to Highly Initiated. I think those guys, again, no shade on them. I don't know the background of the two hosts for Highly Initiated. So I want to give them a little bit of grace. It's not them that I got beef with. Umar Johnson, Jermaine Shoemake is a complete and utter scam artist. And his understanding of the church is foolish. I'm sorry. The idea, because later on in that interview, he talks about how the pastor is, and I did a video this week about it called Umar Johnson's a Scam Artist. He talks about the pastor is the proverbial metaphorical husband of these women. He doesn't want them to get married because they're bringing in the funds and so on and so forth. The double irony of the fact that Jermaine Shoemaker isn't a Christian. He has two baby mamas that he's not married to. Now the guy believes in polygamy. So there's no reason that would have stopped him from marrying those two women that he has two children by. There's nothing stopping him. So you can't use that as an excuse. So, and he's constantly on TikTok advertising for a wife, a whole grown man. I might have to do a whole segment of Jermaine Shoemaker begging for a wife. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I will. So it's clear that he wants a wife. It's also clear that he has two women that he has chosen to lay down with and have children with, but he chooses not to marry them. So miss me with your grandiose opinions about Christ's church. Now, am I saying that everything that's in quote unquote black church is correct? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think the fact that we call it black church is problem number one. So there are some problems with church that is ethnically based. There's a church that is mono-ethnic. I think there is a big problem with that. But sure, we could have if you're in a country where that's almost a single ethnicity, then yeah, you're going to probably only have a single ethnicity church. That's perfectly fine. But the striving and gaining and seeking after being a quote unquote black church in a place that doesn't need to be, to me, I think it's problematic. Jermaine Shoemaker says that the church is too concerned about Jesus and distracted. He literally said, let me pull that back in.
Church caters to the black woman. And the reason the black church caters to the black woman is because the black woman is the provider.
So the black church caters to the black woman because the black woman is the provider. But let me just ask you a quick question. Is that always the case? One, but then also, why is that the case?
She has more income and education than the man. So
there's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of truth to that. The problem is, though, and we've said this with Ebony K. Williams on multiple occasions, talking about the modern woman outstripped the market. She's outpriced herself outside of the market. Whereas, yeah, you have so much college debt. You have so much education that you won't be somebody's wife. And that's a true problem. But let's finish this up.
Looking at this financially, they also have a vested interest in her never getting married.
Okay, here comes right here. And just hear what he says right here.
Pastor is the metaphorical husband of all the single women in the community. I'm not saying he's sleeping with them. I'm saying he's keeping them so distracted with Jesus.
Distracted with Jesus. I want to make sure that's on the screen. He's saying that they're distracted with Jesus. So learning and growing in your understanding of who Christ is a distraction to Mr. Shoemaker. So when I say that Jermaine Shoemaker has no word for the church, it's because he doesn't understand what the church is. He's literally saying, hey, that fish right there, the only reason it's swimming is because it chooses not to climb. It chooses not to fly like a bird. He doesn't understand what the thing is supposed to do. And if you literally say that the church is distracting women from finding a husband because the church is teaching about Christ. So when I say Jermaine Shoemaker has absolutely zero understanding of the church, this is what I'm talking about. And I got some comments on my channel. I'm trying not to call them out tonight. I might just save them for dusty comments.
Distracted with Jesus that they never find a husband, and that's the way he wants it to stay. Because
and now I'm just thinking now, how do you keep somebody distracted with Jesus that they never find a husband? See, I would have asked questions. I just couldn't. Again, shout out to Harly Initiated. I got no beef or no problem with those young men. I think they have a great setup over there. They can invite me over there anytime. I'd love to check out what they do. And they're behind the scenes. However, Jermaine Shoemaker is a scam artist to the black community, and they allowed him to platform him. And again, nobody asked him questions about his school. Nobody asked him questions about how he could speak so authoritatively about the family when he himself is not invested in the family. How is he invested in the community if you're not actually raising the children that you actually sired? How does that work?
Because if she finds a husband, she won't have as much time to be donating to the church. Wow. So the black church benefits from single motherhood. They don't want our sisters married because their pockets would go down.
Yeah, that's just dumb. I don't know a way to be gracious in that and to say Umar Johnson is a complete and utter idiot. Now, he can speak authoritatively about cars. He can speak about shoes. He can speak about dreadlocks, whatever like that. He can speak on those matters. But, sir, you don't have any stake or lot in the Christian church. And nobody in the Christian church needs to waste their time listening to what you're saying, because what you're saying is idiotic. It proves how much you don't know about the church. When you say that people are distracted with Jesus, that right there should be enough to shut the door. We out of here. We out. We done. We're done. Because he's forever on TikTok talking about he wants a wife, wants a wife, wants a wife, wants a wife, wants two wives. I'm sorry, not just one, he wants two. But I'm like, dude, you got two women. They got your kids. Why don't you just marry them? What does that mean to your children to see their dad on TikTok talking about he wants a wife and wants two wives, and you are the kid and your mama is at home by herself and you believe in polygamy? I don't get it.